The alarm blared through the corridors of the SS Aurora, its pulsating red glow bouncing off the metal walls in perfect synchronicity with the deafening sound. The ship's atmospheric regulators automatically activated their emergency protocols, releasing a thin mist of flame-retardant particles that floated through the air like cosmic dust. Fire alert on Deck 4. All available personnel report immediately. The ship's AI announced in multiple languages simultaneously, each layered atop the other in an urgent cacophony. Captain Argonaut of the Crixus species slid from his command chair, the movement causing small ice crystals to form briefly where his translucent blue skin had touched the specially cooled seating surface. His four eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern across his broad forehead, narrowed as he tapped the communication panel. "Status report," he demanded, his voice maintaining the characteristic calm that had earned him command of the Aurora, one of the most prestigious multi-species diplomatic vessels in the galaxy. Security Officer Ciella's chitinous face appeared on the screen, her mandibles clicking with agitation. "Captain, the emergency protocols activated automatically. Temperature sensors detected an extreme heat source moving through Deck 4, specifically in Corridor B, near the diplomatic reception area. Any visual confirmation of flames?" Argonaut asked. "Negative, but heat signatures are off the charts. I've dispatched the emergency response team." "This is suspicious timing. Captain, we've just completed docking procedures at Starbase Epsilon." Before the captain could respond, Chief Engineer Sylph's mercurial form slid into the bridge, their liquid metal body rippling with excitement. Silver droplets occasionally separated from their main mass before being quickly reabsorbed. "Captain, the readings are most peculiar." Sylph's voice bubbled with enthusiasm despite the alarm. "Whatever's causing this heat signature, it's contained within a moving, organic envelope, not spreading like a traditional fire." Argonaut's crystalline brow furrowed. "Show me the surveillance feed." The main screen flickered to life, showing Deck 4's reception area. A figure was walking casually down the corridor, seemingly unaware of the chaos they were causing. The thermal imaging overlay showed an alarming red-orange glow emanating from the being's entire form. "Magnify," ordered Argonaut. The image zoomed in to reveal a bipedal creature with dark hair pulled back into a neat bun, wearing what appeared to be formal diplomatic attire. The being was carrying a small case and looking around with obvious curiosity and admiration. "That's..." Argonaut began. "The human ambassador," completed Ciella, her tone dropping several octaves with suspicion. "Connie Reyes." "But why is the fire alert?" Argonaut stopped mid-sentence as understanding dawned on him. The Aurora was primarily designed for species that thrived in cold or temperate environments. Most of the crew operated comfortably between minus 180 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees Celsius. Humans, he recalled from the diplomatic briefing, maintained an internal body temperature of approximately 37 degrees Celsius. To their environmental sensors, calibrated for the predominantly cold-adapted crew, a human would indeed register as a potential fire hazard. "Cancel the emergency protocols," Argonaut ordered, his voice tinged with embarrassment. "Security Officer Ciella, please escort Ambassador Reyes to the diplomatic quarters. And for the love of the frozen stars, deactivate the fire suppression systems before we suffocate our first human diplomat." Ciella's mandibles clicked in protest. "Captain, with all due respect, should we not isolate this heat source until we can ensure it poses no threat to the ship's systems?" "That heat source is our official Earth ambassador," Argonaut replied firmly. "Ambassador Reyes' arrival has been scheduled for months. Update the environmental sensors to accommodate human biological parameters." On the screen, they could see the confused human now surrounded by the emergency response team in their thermal protection suits, pointing various scanning devices at her. The look on Ambassador Reyes' face shifted from confusion to dawning realization, and then, unexpectedly, to amusement. "Hi there," they heard her say through the feed, raising a hand in greeting to the bewildered emergency team. "I'm Ambassador Connie Reyes from Earth. Did I set off your alarm somehow?" Captain Argonaut sighed. ice crystals forming briefly in the air before him. This was going to be a long diplomatic mission. Ambassador Connie Reyes had prepared extensively for her assignment aboard the SS Aurora. She had studied every available file on the ship's various species, memorized cultural customs, practiced appropriate greetings, and even underwent special medical treatments to help her adapt to the varied atmospheric conditions she would encounter. What she hadn't anticipated was causing a ship-wide emergency within minutes of boarding. "I'm terribly sorry about the alarm," she said as Security Officer Ciela escorted her through the corridors. The chitinous officer maintained a rigid distance of exactly 2 meters from Connie, her compound eyes occasionally darting to the nearest temperature sensor. "No need for apologies, Ambassador," Ciela replied stiffly. "We should have recalibrated our systems before your arrival. It was an oversight." Connie smiled, trying to break the tension. "I've been called many things in my diplomatic career, but fire hazard is definitely a first." Ciela didn't laugh. Instead, she tapped her communication device. "Security to engineering. Please verify that the human quarters have been properly prepared. The environmental controls must be isolated to prevent thermal interference with adjoining sections." Connie's smile faded slightly. "Is my body temperature really that much of a concern? Your species maintains approximately 37 degrees Celsius internal temperature. The average crew member aboard the Aurora functions optimally at 10 degrees Celsius or below. Captain Argonid's quarters, for example, are kept at minus 120 degrees Celsius. Your presence is thermally significant." As they walked, Connie noticed crew members of various species watching her with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. A group of Vrendi, methane-breathing entities encased in crystalline exoskeletons, immediately sealed their environmental suits as she approached, their translucent bodies shimmering with agitation. "Don't mind them," Ciela said, noticing Connie's concerned expression. "Vrendi respiratory systems operate at minus 150 degrees Celsius. They're merely being cautious." "I see," Connie replied, making a mental note to give Vrendi crew members an extra wide berth. They reached the diplomatic quarters, a spacious suite that, Connie realized with relief, was kept at a comfortable 25 degrees Celsius. The room featured adaptable furnishings that could accommodate various physiologies, and a large viewport offering a spectacular view of space and the nearby starbase. "These will be your quarters for the duration of your assignment," explained Ciela. "They are equipped with specialized insulation to prevent thermal leakage. For the safety of the crew and ship systems, we request that you wear this at all times when outside your quarters." Ciela handed Connie what looked like a thin silver bracelet. "What is it?" Connie asked, examining the device. "A thermal dampening field generator. It will create a subtle containment field that keeps your body heat from dissipating too far into the surrounding environment." Connie slipped it onto her wrist, feeling a slight tingle as the device activated. "Is this really necessary? I mean, I'm warm, but I'm not going to set anything on fire." "It's merely a precaution," Ciela responded, but her tone suggested it was non-negotiable. The Aurora houses species with extremely varied environmental needs. Some sections of the ship contain highly volatile substances that react to even minor temperature fluctuations. "I understand," Connie nodded, though she felt a bit like a walking environmental hazard. Just then, the door chimed, and Chief Engineer Sylph flowed into the room, their mercury-like body reflecting the light in rippling patterns. "Ambassador Reyes," Sylph exclaimed, their enthusiasm evident in the excited ripples across their liquid surface. "What an absolute delight to meet you. I've never had the opportunity to study a human up close before." Unlike Ciela, Sylph moved right up to Connie, circling her with undisguised fascination. "Is it true that humans can sustain themselves through the direct consumption of thermal energy from star radiation? What you call sunbathing?" Connie laughed. "Not exactly. We don't actually consume the energy, we just enjoy the warmth. And our skin uses sunlight to produce vitamin D, which is important for our health." "Fascinating." Sylph's body formed a series of complex patterns that Connie assumed expressed excitement. "And you maintain your elevated temperature through metabolic processes alone. No artificial heat sources. That's right. It's just how our bodies work. Remarkable. I've brought a full suite of bioscanners, with the captain's permission, of course. Would you object to some non-invasive scans? I'm particularly interested in how your thermal regulation system functions. Before Connie could respond, Ciela interjected. Engineer Sylph, the ambassador has just arrived and likely requires rest. Your scientific curiosity can wait. Oh, of course, of course. Sylph rippled apologetically. How inconsiderate of me. Please, settle in, ambassador. Though, perhaps just one quick scan. Connie smiled. I don't mind. After causing a ship-wide fire alert, I suppose I owe you some data. As Sylph enthusiastically conducted their scans, Captain Argonid's voice came through the communication system. Ambassador Reyes, welcome aboard the Aurora. I apologize for the unusual reception. We are honored to have Earth represented on our vessel, and I look forward to meeting with you formally once you've had time to settle in. Thank you, Captain, Connie replied. No apologies necessary. I'm looking forward to our mission together. After Sylph finally departed, practically bubbling with excitement over their new data, and Ciela had completed a thorough security briefing, Connie was finally alone. She unpacked her belongings, placing a small hologram of Earth on the bedside table. Looking out at the stars, she wondered what other surprises her unique human physiology might cause aboard this ship of cold-adapted aliens. In a dimly lit maintenance shaft several decks below, a figure hunched over an open panel of circuitry. Slender, frost-covered fingers made minute adjustments to the environmental control systems. The figure paused, checking a handheld device that displayed the ship's security protocols. Stage 1 complete. The figure whispered, their breath visible in the freezing air. Let's see how they handle a real thermal event. A thin smile spread across their ice-blue face. This is just the beginning. Days passed as Connie settled into her role aboard the SS Aurora. She attended briefings, began establishing diplomatic connections with the various species represented on the ship, and slowly became accustomed to the stares and whispers that followed her through the corridors. Most crew members remained cautiously distant, though a few of the more curious ones, like Sylph, sought her out with endless questions about human biology and Earth culture. She was in the middle of a cultural exchange session with a group of junior officers when the first real incident occurred. The lights in the biological sciences section suddenly flickered, then shifted to emergency status. A moment later, alarms began blaring. Environmental anomaly detected in Agricultural Bay 3, announced the ship's AI. Temperature rising beyond safe parameters for crop maintenance. The junior officers scattered to their emergency stations, leaving Connie standing alone in the corridor, uncertain what to do. She decided to head toward the command center to offer assistance if needed. As she rounded a corner, she nearly collided with Captain Argonid, who was moving with surprising speed for his crystalline physiology. Ambassador, he acknowledged with a quick nod. We're experiencing some environmental control issues. Please return to your quarters until we resolve the situation. Is there anything I can do to help? Connie offered. Argonid hesitated. I appreciate the offer, but this is likely a technical malfunction. Our engineering team will handle it. Before Connie could respond, Security Officer Ciela appeared, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking as she approached. Captain, Ciela reported, then paused upon seeing Connie. Something in her compound eyes shifted. Ambassador Reyes, what were you doing near the agricultural bay when the temperature spike occurred? Connie blinked in surprise. I wasn't near the agricultural bay. I was in the cultural exchange center with the junior officers. Can anyone verify your location? Ciela pressed. Ciela, Captain Argonid interjected, his voice cooled to near freezing. The ambassador is not being accused of anything. Focus on determining the cause of the malfunction. Of course, Captain, Ciela replied, though her mandibles clicked in what Connie interpreted as skepticism. But it seems unusual that these temperature anomalies began occurring only after the human came aboard. Correlation is not causation, Security Officer, Argonid stated firmly. Continue your investigation and report back with facts, not speculation. As Ciela departed, Connie turned to Argonaut. Captain, I understand her concern. If there's any possibility my presence is somehow interfering with your systems. It isn't, Argonaut assured her. Our ship is designed to accommodate various biological needs. One human, even with your elevated temperature, should not cause system-wide malfunctions. Just then, Sylph's fluid form rushed toward them, parts of their mercury body splashing slightly in their haste. Captain, the temperature control malfunction was not isolated to the agricultural bay. The Mythosian corridor is reporting a 3-degree increase in ambient temperature. 3 degrees? Argonaut's crystalline features hardened with concern. That could be catastrophic for them. Implement emergency cooling protocols immediately. Already done, Captain, Sylph responded. But there's something strange about these malfunctions. The system logs show no errors, yet the temperature controls are clearly not responding correctly to their programming. Argonaut's expression grew grave. This suggests intentional tampering, not a malfunction. Connie felt a chill despite her naturally warm physiology. Sabotage. It would appear so, Argonaut confirmed, his voice lowering. And unfortunately, Ambassador, your arrival provides convenient timing for someone with ill intent. You mean I'm being framed? Connie asked incredulously. Perhaps, Argonaut replied. Or perhaps someone is using the disruption of your arrival as cover for their actions. Sylph rippled thoughtfully. The question is, who would benefit from creating environmental chaos aboard a multi-species diplomatic vessel? Before anyone could speculate further, another alarm sounded. Warning, critical temperature increase detected in Mythosian sector. Evacuation protocols initiated. I must attend to this, Argonaut said urgently. Ambassador, please do return to your quarters for now. Not because you're suspected, but for your own safety. If someone is targeting our environmental systems, they may target areas hospitable to humans next. As Connie made her way back to her quarters, she couldn't help but notice the increasingly suspicious glances from passing crew members. Word of the temperature malfunctions had clearly spread quickly, and it seemed many were drawing the same conclusions as Ciela, that the human heat source was somehow responsible. When she reached her quarters, she found a small group of Mythosians huddled outside her door. Their crystalline bodies, normally a clear blue, had taken on a cloudy appearance that Connie recognized as a sign of distress. Is there something I can help you with? She asked cautiously. One of the Mythosians stepped forward, ice crystals forming and shattering around their joints with each movement. We demand to know why you are increasing the temperature in our sector, they said, their voice like crackling ice. I'm not, Connie replied firmly. I've been nowhere near your sector. The temperature began rising when you arrived on this ship, another Mythosian accused. Our living conditions are becoming unbearable. We require minus 160 degrees Celsius to function properly. I understand your distress, but I assure you I have nothing to do with the temperature malfunctions, Connie tried to explain. Captain Argonaut believes someone may be sabotaging the environmental systems. A convenient explanation. The first Mythosian responded coldly. Perhaps you should return to your own kind, Heatbearer. This ship was functioning perfectly before your arrival. Just as the confrontation seemed about to escalate, Sylph appeared, flowing between Connie and the Mythosians. This behavior is unbecoming of Aurora crew members, Sylph admonished the Mythosians. The ambassador has been cleared of any involvement by the captain himself. Return to your emergency accommodations while we resolve the issue. Reluctantly, the Mythosians departed, leaving frosty footprints in their wake. Thank you, Connie said to Sylph. No thanks necessary, Sylph replied, their mercurial form rippling with concern. But I fear this situation will worsen before it improves. The crew is growing anxious, and frightened beings often seek simple explanations for complex problems. And I'm the simplest explanation, Connie concluded with a sigh. Unfortunately, yes. A new variable introduced to a previously stable system. Sylph paused, then added, for what it's worth, I've analyzed the temperature fluctuation patterns. They're too precise, too targeted to be caused by passive heat radiation from a biological source. Someone is manipulating our systems with expert knowledge. Connie frowned. You mean someone who knows the ship's systems well? Precisely. An inside job, as humans might say. Later that evening, as Connie reviewed diplomatic briefings in her quarters, her door chimed. She opened it to find Captain Argonid standing there, frost forming in the air around him. Ambassador, I apologize for disturbing your evening, he said formally. May I enter? Of course, Captain, Connie replied, stepping aside. She noticed him wince slightly as he entered the warmer environment of her quarters. I'll be brief, as this temperature is challenging for me, Argonid explained. The situation has escalated. We've had to evacuate 3 more sections due to environmental failures, and crew tensions are rising. Security Officer Ciela is pushing for a formal investigation into your potential involvement. What? Connie exclaimed. But you said yourself that I couldn't be causing these malfunctions. And I stand by that assessment, Argonid assured her. But Ciela is correct that a formal investigation would help dispel rumors and potentially reveal the true culprit. Connie took a deep breath. I understand. I have nothing to hide. I know that, the captain said. But there's something else. Engineer Sylph believes they've identified a pattern to the malfunctions. They appear to be radiating outward from the central environmental control systems, affecting different species' quarters in sequence. Someone's testing the system's vulnerabilities, Connie realized. Precisely. And if the pattern continues, the next target will be the oxygen processing units that supply the sections inhabited by oxygen-breathing species, including your quarters. Connie felt a chill run down her spine. That would affect a significant portion of the crew. Yes, which is why I'm here not just as the captain, but as someone who believes in the mission of the Aurora, to prove that different species can coexist and cooperate despite our differences. Argonid's 4 eyes focused intently on Connie. Would you be willing to assist Sylph with the investigation? Your external perspective might notice things we've overlooked and... He hesitated. Your ability to withstand higher temperatures could prove valuable if we need to access areas affected by the sabotage. Connie straightened her posture. Of course, Captain. I came aboard the Aurora to build bridges between species. If helping solve this mystery will further that goal, I'm all in. Argonid's crystalline features relaxed slightly. Thank you, Ambassador. Meet Sylph in engineering at 0700 hours tomorrow. And Ambassador, he added as he turned to leave, exercise caution. Whoever is behind this clearly has no regard for the safety of the crew, regardless of species. After the captain left, Connie sat on her bed, contemplating the situation. She had expected challenges in her role as the first human ambassador aboard a predominantly cold-adapted alien vessel. But becoming embroiled in what appeared to be sabotage within days of her arrival wasn't on her list of anticipated diplomatic hurdles. She pulled out her personal tablet and began researching the Aurora's environmental systems, determined to be as prepared as possible for tomorrow's investigation. What she didn't notice was the small device that had been planted beneath her desk, silently collecting data on her movements and communications. In the ship's maintenance tunnels, the saboteur reviewed the feed from the device, their frost-covered fingers tapping a steady rhythm on their console. Perfect, they whispered, breath crystallizing in the frigid air. The heat bearer takes the bait. The engineering section was a marvel of interspecies cooperation, designed to be accessible to the various physiologies represented among the crew. When Connie arrived the next morning, she found Sylph waiting, their mercury form reflecting the multicolored lights of the control panels. Ambassador, thank you for joining our investigation. Sylph greeted her enthusiastically, flowing around her in what she had come to recognize as their version of an excited circle. Happy to help, though I'm not sure how much use I'll be with ship systems, Connie admitted. Your perspective alone is valuable, Sylph assured her. And besides, I've been reviewing your personnel file. You worked on environmental systems at the Mars colony before becoming a diplomat, did you not? Connie raised an eyebrow. You've been researching me? Standard procedure when inviting non-engineering personnel into restricted areas, Sylph explained without apology, their liquid body forming a shrug-like ripple. Your experience with multi-module life support systems could be relevant. That was years ago, but yes, I do have some background in environmental engineering, Connie acknowledged. Excellent. Then let me show you what we've discovered. Sylph led Connie to a holographic display of a ship, with various sections color-coded to indicate temperature variations. The pattern is subtle, but unmistakable once you know what to look for, Sylph explained, manipulating the display to show a time lapse of the temperature changes over the past 3 days. See how the anomalies appear to jump randomly between sections, but when analyzed by affected species rather than physical location. Connie watched as Sylph reorganized the data. Suddenly, a pattern emerged. They're targeting species in order of temperature tolerance, she realized, starting with those requiring the coldest environments and working up. Precisely. Sylph's form rippled with approval. Which means humans would be last, Connie completed the thought, because we tolerate the highest temperatures of any species aboard. Correct again. And this suggests the saboteur is likely from a cold-adapted species, Connie concluded. They're systematically disrupting the environments of others while remaining comfortable themselves. Sylph's mercury form vibrated with excitement. Your analytical skills are impressive, Ambassador. This narrows our suspect pool considerably. Connie frowned, thinking through the implications. But what's the motive? What does anyone gain from making the ship uninhabitable? Before Sylph could respond, Security Officer Ciela entered the engineering section, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking with each step. She regarded Connie with obvious suspicion. Engineer Sylph, the captain informed me you've brought the ambassador into our investigation, Ciela said, her mandibles twitching. I must register my formal objection. This is a security matter. Objection noted, Sylph replied calmly. However, Ambassador Reyes has already provided valuable insights, and her background in environmental engineering makes her an asset to our team. Ciela's compound eyes fixed on Connie. Is that so? And what insights has the ambassador offered? We've identified that the saboteur is targeting species in order of temperature tolerance, Connie explained, keeping her tone professional despite Ciela's hostility, and that they're likely from a cold-adapted species themselves. Ciela's antennae twitched. An interesting theory. Almost convenient for you, Ambassador, as it would eliminate humans from suspicion. It's not a theory, it's data analysis, Connie replied firmly. And I'm not trying to eliminate anyone from suspicion. I want to find whoever is doing this before someone gets hurt. Ciela stepped closer, her towering insectoid form looming over Connie. If that is truly your concern, then perhaps you should assist by granting me access to your communication logs and personal devices. For transparency, Ciela, Sylph intervened, flowing between them. The ambassador is here at Captain Argonid's request. Unless you have specific evidence implicating her, such demands are inappropriate. The security officer's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Connie had learned indicated frustration. Very well, but I will be monitoring your activities closely, Ambassador. The safety of this ship is my primary concern. After Ciela departed, Connie released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She really doesn't like me, does she? Don't take it personally, Sylph advised, their forms settling into a more relaxed state. Ciela's species evolved on a world with constant threats. Suspicion is literally hardwired into her nervous system. Plus, the Aurora did experience a serious incident last year. A fire in the oxygen storage section that nearly proved catastrophic. A fire? Connie asked, suddenly understanding some of Ciela's hostility. No wonder she's concerned about a heat-producing human aboard. Exactly. Now, shall we continue our investigation? I'd like to show you the actual environmental control notes. We may find physical evidence of tampering. Sylph led Connie deeper into the engineering section, eventually bringing her to a massive chamber filled with interconnected tubes, pipes, and control panels. Each was labeled with symbols indicating the various ship sections they regulated. This is incredible, Connie breathed, taking in the complex system. It's like artificial lungs and veins for the entire ship. An apt metaphor, Sylph agreed. These systems maintain the precise conditions each species requires. Some need methane atmospheres, others oxygen. Some thrive in radiation levels that would kill others instantly. Creating harmony from such diversity is a remarkable achievement. As they examined the systems, Connie noticed something unusual about one of the control nodes. "Sylph, what's this?" she asked, pointing to a small device attached to the circuitry for the Mathosian sector. Sylph flowed closer, extending a thin tendril of their mercury form to examine the device without touching it. "That should not be there. It appears to be some kind of override module, forcing the temperature controls to register false readings. Can you remove it? Not without proper analysis first. It might be booby-trapped or connected to other systems." Sylph produced a scanner from a compartment in their liquid body and began examining the device. This is sophisticated work, custom-built, using components that would only be available to someone with engineering clearance. Suddenly, the lights in the chamber dimmed, then switched to emergency red. A blast door slammed shut behind them. "What's happening?" Connie asked, alarmed. Sylph's form rippled with concern. "Someone has activated the sector isolation protocols. We're locked in." A moment later, a warning siren blared, and the ship's AI announced, "Warning! Temperature increase detected in Engineering Sector 7. Containment protocols activated." Connie felt the air around them growing warmer. "They've triggered another malfunction and trapped us inside it." "This is no malfunction," Sylph said grimly, the mercury form beginning to shimmer as the temperature rose. "This is deliberate. The saboteur knows we've found evidence." Connie watched with growing concern as Sylph's liquid body began to show signs of stress, small droplets separating and falling to the floor as the temperature continued to climb. "Sylph, you need to get out of here," Connie urged. "Your physiology can't handle these temperatures." "She cannot leave you." Sylph struggled to maintain their cohesion. "Not as safe. I can handle the heat better than you can," Connie assured them. "We need to alert the captain about what we found." The temperature was now approaching 40 degrees Celsius, comfortable for Connie, but clearly dangerous for Sylph, whose mercury-based body was beginning to lose structural integrity. "Emergency override," Sylph managed, pointing to a panel near the blast door. "Need authorization code and biometric." Understanding what needed to be done, Connie helped guide Sylph's weakening form toward the panel. Together, they input the emergency override, with Sylph providing the authorization code and a small portion of their liquid body for the biometric scanner. The blast door slid open just as the temperature passed 45 degrees Celsius. Sylph was now barely able to maintain their humanoid shape, more a puddle than a person. "Go," Connie urged, helping Sylph flow through the doorway into the cooler corridor beyond. "Get to the medical bay and alert the captain." "What about you?" Sylph asked weakly. "I'm going to try to reach the central controls and stop whatever program they've initiated," Connie replied. "I can withstand these temperatures longer than any of the crew." "Too dangerous," Sylph protested, but their form was rapidly dispersing. "Go now," Connie insisted, giving the liquid engineer a gentle push away from the superheated area. As Sylph reluctantly flowed away towards safety, Connie turned back to face the increasingly hot engineering chamber. She had removed her uniform jacket, now wearing only her light undershirt as sweat poured down her face. The temperature was still climbing, now past 50 degrees Celsius. Even for a human, this was becoming dangerously hot. She made her way to the central control console, fighting the discomfort of the heat. The screen displayed warning messages about multiple system failures throughout the ship. Whatever the saboteur had planned, it was now in full effect. As she attempted to access the controls, a movement caught her eye. Turning quickly, she spotted a figure emerging from behind a bank of machinery, a tall, slender alien with pale blue, frost-covered skin and eyes like chips of ice. Their environmental suit had been modified to maintain extreme cold despite the rising heat. "You're a persistent heat-bearer," the figure said, their voice colder than interstellar space. "Most organics would have fled by now." "You're killing people," Connie replied, fighting to stay focused as the heat made her dizzy. Whatever point you're trying to make, it's not worth that. The saboteur laughed, a sound like cracking ice. The point, Ambassador, is that some species were never meant to coexist. This experiment in multi-species cooperation, it's an abomination, a denial of natural order. Connie recognized the insignia partially visible beneath the alien's modified environmental suit. It belonged to a maintenance technician. "You're Arvik from engineering maintenance," she realized. "Why are you doing this?" "For purity," Arvik replied with zealous intensity. "Each species should remain in its proper environment, not corrupt itself by adapting to others. The purist separation movement understands this fundamental truth." "So if you're a terrorist," Connie stated flatly, "willing to kill innocent people for your ideology." "I'm a visionary," Arvik corrected, moving to a different console and inputting a series of commands. "And when the Aurora fails, when its precious environmental systems collapse completely, the galaxy will see that forced integration is doomed to failure." Connie noticed the device in Arvik's hand, similar to the one they'd found attached to the Mythosian controls, but larger. He was connecting it to the main environmental system. "You won't succeed," Connie said, trying to distract him while looking for a way to stop his plan. "Captain Argonid already knows about the sabotage." "The captain suspects sabotage, yes," Arvik admitted with a cold smile. "But he thinks it's you, Heat-Bearer. Or, at least, he will when he finds your biometric signature all over these controls. Security Officer Ciela has been most helpful in feeding suspicions about the dangerous human aboard." "Ciela is working with you?" Connie asked, shocked. Arvik laughed again, not knowingly, but her security access codes were embarrassingly easy to duplicate. Her natural suspicion of outsiders, especially warm-blooded ones like you, made her the perfect, unwitting accomplice. The temperature was now approaching 60 degrees Celsius. Connie could feel her consciousness starting to fade as her body struggled to cool itself. She knew she had only minutes before heat stroke would render her incapacitated. "What you're doing goes against everything the Aurora stands for," she gasped. "Precisely," Arvik replied coldly, finishing his work on the device. "And now, Heat-Bearer, I must leave you to take the blame. In approximately 5 minutes, this device will trigger catastrophic failures in all environmental systems simultaneously. The Mythosians will boil, the oxygen breathers will suffocate, and the reputation of the multi-species initiative will be irreparably damaged." As Arvik moved toward a maintenance shaft at the back of the chamber, Connie made a desperate lunge for the device he had just installed. Her fingers closed around it just as Arvik realized what she was doing. "No," he snarled, turning back and grabbing her arm. His touch was shockingly cold, even in the superheated room, and pain lanced through her flesh where his frost-covered fingers made contact. It felt like severe frostbite forming instantly. Connie cried out, but didn't let go of the device. The conflicting extremes of the room's heat and Arvik's touch created a bizarre, painful contrast that threatened to overwhelm her senses. "Let go," Arvik hissed, his icy breath visible even in the sweltering air. "Your primitive biology cannot withstand these conditions much longer." He was right. Connie could feel her consciousness wavering, her vision blurring at the edges. The temperature must be approaching 65 degrees Celsius now, well into the danger zone even for humans. But she held firm, knowing that thousands of lives depended on her stopping this sabotage. "Neither can yours," she gasped, noticing how Arvik's environmental suit was showing signs of failure, condensation forming on its surface as the cooling systems struggled against the extreme heat. With a sudden burst of strength born from desperation, Connie twisted her arm free and stumbled backward, the sabotage device still clutched in her hand. She collided with a control panel, inadvertently activating the emergency communication system. "This is Ambassador Reyes," she managed to say into the now open channel, her voice raspy from the dry heat. "Engineering, Section 7. Saboteur identified. Maintenance Technician Arvik. He's attempting to destroy all environmental systems." Arvik let out a roar of frustration and lunged at her again, but the heat was affecting him now too. His movements were becoming sluggish as his cryo-adapted physiology struggled with a rising temperature. "You've ruined everything," he snarled. "No," Connie countered, bracing herself against the control panel. "I'm preserving everything. Every species' right to work together despite our differences." Arvik's face contorted with rage. He reached into his suit and pulled out a small, crystalline device. "If I cannot complete my mission, I can at least eliminate the meddling heat bearer who interfered." Connie recognized the device as a cryogrenade, designed to instantly freeze a localized area to near absolute zero. In the current superheated environment, the thermal shock could be catastrophic. Time seemed to slow. Connie calculated her options in a split second and made her choice. She dove for the environmental override controls, knowing she couldn't evade the grenade in the confined space. Just as Arvik activated the cryogrenade, the chamber door burst open. Captain Argonid and Security Officer Ciela rushed in, accompanied by 2 security personnel. They took in the scene instantly, Connie at the controls, Arvik with the active cryo device. "Down!" Argonid shouted. Ciela reacted with incredible speed, her chitinous form launching forward to tackle Arvik. The cryo grenade slipped from his grasp, rolling across the floor. One of the security officers fired a containment field, encapsulating the grenade just as it detonated. The field contained most of the blast, but a wave of supercooled air still washed over them all. Connie felt the sudden drop in temperature like a physical blow. After the extreme heat, the cold was almost a relief for a moment, until it wasn't. Her sweat-soaked skin began to freeze instantly, sending new waves of pain through her body. Ciela had Arvik pinned to the ground now, her natural armor providing some protection against both the heat and the cold blast. Captain Argonid moved quickly to the environmental controls, his crystalline physiology actually stabilizing in the chaotic temperature fluctuations. "Ambassador," he called to Connie, who was now shivering violently. "The override codes, quickly." With trembling hands, Connie input the emergency override sequence Sylph had shown her earlier. The screen flashed green, and immediately the sound of massive ventilation systems engaging filled the chamber. Temperature-stabilizing compounds began flowing through vents, gradually bringing conditions back to normal parameters. "Well done," Argonid acknowledged, his 4 eyes focusing on her with concern. "Medical team to Engineering Section 7. He ordered into his communicator. "Priority 1. Connie tried to respond, but found she couldn't form words. Her body, subjected to such extreme temperature variations in short succession, was going into shock. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was Ciela efficiently cuffing the struggling Arvik, and Captain Argonid moving toward her with what almost looked like respect in his crystalline eyes. The medical bay of the SS Aurora was designed to accommodate the physiological needs of dozens of different species. For Connie, this meant a recovery pod calibrated specifically for human biology, keeping her at a stable 25 degrees Celsius, while regenerative therapies addressed the damage from both heat exposure and flash freezing. She awoke to find Chief Engineer Sylph's mercurial form hovering anxiously beside her bed. The liquid alien appeared fully recovered from their own heat exposure. "Ambassador, you're conscious," Sylph bubbled with obvious relief. The medical team was concerned about potential neural damage from the thermal shock. Connie tried to sit up, wincing at the stiffness in her limbs. "How long was I out?" 26 ship hours, Sylph replied. "But your vital signs stabilized after the first 10. "The ship?" Connie asked urgently. "The environmental systems?" "Fully functional," Sylph assured her. "Your actions prevented catastrophic failure. The sabotage devices have all been located and removed." Connie relaxed slightly. "And Arvik?" "In the brig, under maximum security. Captain Argonid is personally overseeing his interrogation. It appears he is part of a fringe movement called the Pure Separation. Extremists who believe interspecies cooperation is unnatural." He mentioned that. Connie nodded, then noticed a figure standing quietly at the entrance to the medical bay. "Security Officer Ciela." The insectoid security officer approached stiffly, her mandibles twitching in what Connie now recognized as nervousness rather than aggression. "Ambassador Reyes," Ciela began formally. "I owe you an apology. My suspicions were misplaced." Connie offered a small smile. "You were doing your job, Officer Ciela. Protecting the ship, perhaps, but I allowed preconceptions to cloud my judgment. Your actions demonstrated true commitment to the Aurora's mission, at great personal risk." Ciela's antennae dipped in what Connie interpreted as a gesture of respect. "That is not something I will forget." Before Connie could respond, Captain Argonid entered the medical bay, frost forming briefly around him as the temperature difference affected his crystalline physiology. "Ambassador," he greeted her with a slight bow. "It is good to see you recovering. Dr. Phlyx assures me there will be no permanent damage." "I'm feeling much better, Captain," Connie replied. "What have you learned from Arvik?" Argonid's multiple eyes narrowed slightly. "He has been forthcoming after we demonstrated that his sabotage had failed. The Purist movement appears to have operatives on several multi-species vessels. They seek to discredit the very concept of interspecies cooperation by making it look like different environmental needs cannot be accommodated within one ship," Connie concluded. "Precisely. And in this case, by attempting to frame Earth's ambassador for the catastrophe." Argonid's crystalline features shifted in what might have been the equivalent of a wry smile. The irony being that it was precisely your unique human physiology that enabled you to thwart his plan. "My heat tolerance," Connie realized. "Indeed," Sylph chimed in enthusiastically. "No other species aboard could have remained functional long enough in that environment to stop the sabotage device." Ciela clicked her mandibles in agreement. "It seems your thermal peculiarities have proven unexpectedly valuable." Captain Argonid nodded solemnly. "The Aurora was designed to demonstrate that our differences need not divide us, that with proper accommodation and understanding, diverse species can not only coexist but thrive together." Arvik sought to prove that wrong. Instead, his actions have only served to prove how right we are. 3 days later, Connie was cleared to return to regular duties. As she walked through the corridors of the Aurora, she noticed a distinct change in how the crew responded to her. Where before there had been suspicion and distance, now there were nods of acknowledgement, even a few friendly greetings. The ship's botanical garden had suffered some damage in the environmental fluctuations, but was recovering well. Connie found a peaceful place to gather her thoughts. She was sitting on a bench, watching the alien flora sway in the artificial breeze when Sylph found her. "Ah, there you are, Ambassador. I've been looking everywhere." The liquid engineer flowed excitedly around the bench before settling into a roughly humanoid shape beside her. "Is everything all right?" Connie asked. "More than all right," Sylph bubbled happily. "The captain asked me to inform you that your actions have been officially commended in the ship's log and reported to both Earth Diplomatic Headquarters and the Interstellar Cooperation Council." "That's nice," Connie replied, somewhat embarrassed by the recognition. "But that's not all," Sylph continued, their mercury form rippling with barely contained excitement. "We've received requests from 3 other multi-species vessels asking if we might be willing to share our experience with human crew members." Connie blinked in surprise. "They want humans aboard their ships? Because of what happened?" "Precisely. Your unique thermal tolerance has been recognized as potentially valuable in various emergency scenarios. The SS Centauri is particularly interested, as they've had recurring issues with their cooling systems." Connie couldn't help but laugh. "So, I've gone from fire hazard to emergency heat source." An oversimplification, but essentially correct, came Captain Argonid's voice from behind them. The crystalline captain approached, ice crystals forming briefly in his wake. "Though I would characterize it more as a recognition that true diversity includes embracing qualities that might initially seem challenging." He handed Connie a small device, a new thermal regulator bracelet, but more elegant than her original one. "This upgraded model will help you move comfortably through all areas of the ship without setting off alarms," Argonid explained. "Though I've instructed engineering to recalibrate our sensors to recognize human thermal signatures as normal, not emergency events. "Thank you, Captain," Connie said, genuinely touched by the gesture. "No, Ambassador Reyes. Thank you." Argonid's crystalline features shifted into what she now recognized as his version of a smile. The Aurora's mission is to prove that beings from vastly different worlds, with vastly different needs, can find common ground and strength in their diversity. Your actions have exemplified that ideal. As if on cue, a small group of Mythosians approached, their crystalline bodies gleaming in the garden's soft light. The one in the lead, whom Connie recognized as one who had confronted her outside her quarters, stepped forward. "Ambassador," the Mythosian began, frost forming and dissipating around their joints as they spoke. "We wish to extend our apologies for our previous behavior. Our prejudice was unwarranted. No apology necessary," Connie assured them. "Fear is a natural response to the unknown, and I imagine a being who exists at 37 degrees Celsius must seem quite terrifying to someone who lives at minus 160 degrees Celsius." The Mythosian's crystalline body shifted in what might have been embarrassment. "Nevertheless, we have learned an important lesson. The very quality we feared, your heat, proved to be exactly what was needed in crisis." Captain Argonid nodded approvingly. "A lesson for us all, I think." In the days that followed, Connie found herself unexpectedly popular among the crew. Many sought her out, curious about Earth and human biology, now that they'd moved past their initial fear. She even began teaching informal classes on human culture and physiology, which were surprisingly well attended. Ciela had assigned her a security detail, not out of suspicion, but out of concern for her safety. The Purist movement had cells throughout the galaxy, and Connie's role in foiling their plan had made her a potential target. "Do you really think they try again?" Connie asked as she and Ciela walked toward the diplomatic conference room. "Extremists rarely abandon their beliefs in the face of failure," Ciela replied pragmatically, her mandibles clicking softly. "But they would be foolish to attempt anything aboard the Aurora now. Security protocols have been completely overhauled." As they passed a viewport, Connie paused to look out at the stars. The Aurora was approaching a new star system, its multicolored hull gleaming in the light of an unfamiliar sun. "Something on your mind, Ambassador?" Ciela inquired, noticing her contemplative mood. "I was just thinking about how different things turned out than I expected," Connie admitted. "When I first came aboard and set off all those alarms, I worried I'd never fit in, that my human physiology would always be a liability. And now I understand that the Aurora isn't about eliminating our differences. It's about finding the value in them." Connie smiled, even when those differences initially seemed like problems. Ciela's compound eyes reflected the starlight. A wise observation. Perhaps there is hope for interspecies understanding after all. Captain Argonid's voice came over the ship-wide communication system. "Attention, all personnel. We are approaching the Denabian system. All diplomatic staff, please report to Conference Room 1 for mission briefing." "Duty calls," Connie said with a smile. As she made her way to the conference room, she passed Engineer Sylph, who was enthusiastically explaining to a group of junior officers how human body temperature had saved the ship. "And just imagine, in future ship designs, we might actually incorporate designated warm zones where human crew members could serve as emergency thermal reserves. The possibilities are fascinating." Connie suppressed a laugh. From fire hazard to valued crew member to thermal reserve, the journey aboard. The Aurora had certainly been unexpected. But then, wasn't that the whole point of space exploration? To encounter the unexpected and discover that what initially seems alien might be exactly what you need. In the conference room, Captain Argonid was waiting with the senior staff. As Connie took her seat, he acknowledged her with a respectful nod. "Ambassador Reyes, welcome. Before we begin the mission briefing, I thought you might like to know that the Interstellar Cooperation Council has approved funding for 3 new multi-species vessels based on the Aurora model, with specific accommodations for human crew members." A ripple of approving sounds went through the assembled staff. Clicks, bubbles, crystalline tings, and more traditional applause. "It seems," Argonid continued, frost forming briefly around his mouth as he spoke. That your fiery entrance has sparked quite the trend. The term being used in council communications is, I believe, hot commodity. Connie couldn't help but laugh. Well, Captain, I'm just glad that what started as a fire alarm ended up bringing light instead of heat. The crystalline captain's features shifted in what was unmistakably amusement. Indeed, Ambassador. Though in your case, perhaps it brought both. As the briefing began and the Aurora continued its journey into unexplored space, Connie Reyes, the human who had once been reported as a fire on deck, felt a warmth that had nothing to do with her body temperature and everything to do with finding her place among the stars.